Mm, less than I thought. How about all babies in your family? Are they cute? A little few more. We've had a couple lately. They're really cute. Good times. A couple boys. The story of Jesus' birth is in Matthew and in Luke. Matthew kind of takes the approach. He starts the lineage with Jesus, and he kind of starts at Abraham and goes down. And then Luke does too, but he starts all the way back to Adam. And then it goes to Abraham, and it goes. And once it gets to David, it kind of switches gears. And it kind of shows both sides. It shows the legal side. It also shows Luke shows the Mary side. So either way, the lineage he was on path. Um, a lot of people believe that there was a Jesus. They don't doubt he was born, and obviously his name is still around today. It's always interested me and thought it was interesting that his birth has separated all time. The history of all time is on Jesus' birth. It's pretty impressive. It's not just something that just happens. And now, of course, they're trying to change it, BCE and ACE and all that stuff. But was Jesus who he said he was? Some people say, yeah, Jesus was around. He was a really good teacher. A really good guy, actually. He wasn't God. But the Bible tells us that Jesus existed even before he was born. In John 8, he says, before Abraham was, I am. I was here before Abraham. In fact, Jesus was here before the earth was even made. It's hard to understand. We'll never fully fathom until we get to heaven this thing about this Trinity. God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Right? And you go to the book of John, one of my favorite apostles, plus he's got a cool name. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. Similar verse in Hebrews 1:3. Was the Word. They call Jesus the Word. They call this the written Word. And just that phrase, the Word became flesh, for a long time was like, this kind of sounds weird. What does that kind of mean? It sounds real Christian-y, right? And people say it all the time, but do they understand it? Can they explain it to somebody? And if you think about a word, what does a word do? Just one word. If I say swimming pool, that's two words, but right, words paint a picture. So when you say words, we're having those people visualize what we're saying with our words. If they paint a picture and they express something, that's what a word does. Expresses something, gets you that's what Jesus. When Jesus came, it's an expression of God. The Word became flesh. Jesus is the nature of God wrapped up in human skin. So a word that expresses, communicates something take my place. What happened? What did Herod say? Hey, all babies 2 years and younger, kill them. Slaughter them with a sword. It's kind of crazy. Satan's in on that. How about World War II? 6 million Jews. I think the devil had a little something to do with that maybe too. The evilness. Heck, we got it going on today with Hamas and them too. So, God had a master plan, and part of his plan was to give this gift of Jesus, a gift to us. We needed this gift. There's a problem, is that we have sin, and the sin is passed down and passed down. Some sin more than others. I have no problem realizing I have sin because I've done it quite often, too much. There's some people that think, I'm not too bad. And they're not on the earthly level, but according to God, not even close. Everybody has sinned. Everybody deserves to go to hell. No one is good enough to go to heaven, period. That's the problem. If there's sin, you're going to die. The good news is that God knew this. He knew we'd mess up, and he made a plan. And part of this plan was Jesus. God became man. He came down here. He lived this life. He was born to die. He did that. Born to die. The main reason he came down here. There's a couple other reasons, I think. So he came down to die and pay for our sins. I think also at the same time, he showed us what the Father is like. We could actually see that word communicates to us something about God. Oh, that's more like, okay, we can see his nature. We can see it in action and how he operates. The love of God can be seen in Jesus. He displays that. And I think another one is he showed us how to live this Christian life, how to walk, how to be other-centered, how to love. Never really had much, did he? He didn't have his own house, his own little, he never had nothing. Why is that? Well, for one, he knew he was going to be here just temporarily. He's on an assignment. If you go through the book of John, it says this and this happened, but his time had not yet come. You go on a couple more chapters, but his time had not yet come. It's like 8 times it says that, and finally gets to like the end of John where he's going to go through the cross. He says, his time had now come. It speaks of a plan, of a timetable that God has. Romans 5 talks about this contrast between Adam and Jesus. I just want to read a couple of these things on here. Romans 5:15 through 21. Okay, we got one man Adam, and we got one man Christ. By one man trespass, many have died. By one man's grace, the gift of righteousness to many. By one man Adam, judgment and condemnation. One man Jesus, many trespasses, a gift of justification. One man Adam, through one man's trespass, death reigned. But through Jesus, the one man, believers reign in life. One trespass, condemnation for all men. But with Jesus, one act of righteousness, justification is offered to all who would receive it. The disobedience of one, Adam, produced many sinners. The obedience of one, Jesus, to the cross, many righteous. Sin reigned in death, but grace reigns and brings eternal life. You ever have someone do something for you, like someone you don't know come up, maybe pay for something, pay for a meal? Maybe the guy in front of you pays for your meal and you call up, hey, that's cool. That's what Jesus has done, but he's done it on a way bigger scale. There's nothing you can do in your own effort to be good enough to go to heaven. The other day I had a surprise. No one really knocks my doors. Open it up. It's the boys, 2 young lads, wrapped up, looking all good. Latter-day Saints. I said, oh, hey, fellas. Well, hello, sir. I said, listen, before you even get going, I'm just telling you right now, you're going to waste your time. I'm a Christian. I know what I believe. I know what you believe. We just believe different, and that's okay. But good luck. If you want to talk about the other stuff, we can come back and talk about it. Those guys are trying to earn their way to heaven. And most religions are that way. Matter of fact, Christianity is unique in that. Two main points. We're not working our way to salvation. Jesus paid for it all. We accept it through faith and believe it. That he's already done the works. The work's already done. We just rest in that. And the other part is that our leader of our religion is risen from the dead. He's alive. All the other ones are still in the grave. It's a big difference. Big difference. But Jesus was here temporary. But he did change the world, turn the world upside down with these 12 guys. All history and time is divided by his birth and death. People still talk about him today. And people still get angry when you talk about him today. And more so, seems like on and on. But were his claims true? I believe so. Back to this written word, man. The older I get, the more I love it. Because, like I say, if you're not sure if Jesus is God, read the Bible. Ask him. I promise you, if you say, God, reveal yourself to me, I want to know the truth. He's not going to hide it from you. He's not going to go. He's going to tell you. That's what he wants. That's what he's always wanted. He made us to have a relationship with us, but sin has kept us, broken fellowship and kept us away. And then our guilt keeps us away. But that's what he desired. That's why he sent his son to die, to pay for the sin, so they could reconnect, drive us back together. The sin issue is done. But Satan, because what he likes to do is if he can't keep you unsaved and you get saved, then he's going to keep you from growing. And how he does that is get you in some of the traps. He's got some really good traps. He's really got some of the same skills he's had for a long time. He's just really good at them. You know, the deception is making things appear this way, but they're really over here. The trap's behind it. And there's something about mankind when he's working and earning, he feels like he's doing something. Satan will take that guilt and have it drive you crazy. So all you do is get on your little hamster wheel and you start working. Trying to be good enough for God to accept you. You're not good enough. I'm not good enough. Jesus is good enough. We are saved and accepted because of what Jesus did in his sacrifice, not what we do. We just got to believe and let it be on our account. It took a long time for me to get that in my head. I was so legalistic and so working to try and be good enough for God to accept me and bless me and do all those things that I, pray for. The cosmic, what's it called? Order, the cosmic genie. I want this, and this, God. I've been good this week. What you think? How many of those can I get? Man, I went to church, God. Look what I did for you. So we had a plan. We had plans sometimes. I was thinking about this yesterday, some of the plans. In a combat situation, there's plans. And at some time, and sometimes usually really quick, they go different. There's rounds flying, and there's people yelling, and people getting hurt. It's a different ballgame. There's always a change and adjustment. I didn't plan for my dad to fall back here. We didn't plan for Big Al to do this. Now, we got a couple other people. We didn't plan on a lot of this stuff that happens. But God knew it a long time ago. He knew his son would be born. He knew what would happen. He knew his son would be beaten, hair pulled, mocked, crown of thorns, whipped, 39 lashes, skin ripped, bleeding in a pit. Even some Bible characters like Joseph. Think about Joseph. Joseph I bet he didn't plan on his brothers doing him like that. They did. He came out of that, and later on down the road, he's doing real good. What happened? Potiphar's wife. Oof. Nothing ever written, one thing bad about Joseph. But quite a bit of that book of Genesis is him. How about Daniel? Daniel's a pretty good guy, huh? Nothing written bad about him either. He had to deal with the whole Nebuchadnezzar, his buddies in the fiery furnace, lion's den. How about Job? He definitely had his plans changed, huh? Lost everything. Back to back to back. The only thing left was his nagging wife. He said, curse God. And he wouldn't even do that. Just get a side note here about some legalistic things. If you're stuck in the rut of thinking you're going to be doing enough things for God to accept you or bless you or be on his good side, and you're in this effort of legalism, these are three questions I had to ask myself. This is what I always do if I think about this. Real quick. Why are you doing or not doing what you're doing, right? So why are you doing this that you're planning on doing? Is it to be good enough for God to do something, or what's the purpose? What's the motive behind it? Two, what is the source of the life? What's this effort is coming from what? Your flesh or spirit-led? And three is, who gets the glory? Who gets the praise? Who gets the fame? Who gets the... One of my life verses is Colossians 3:17. Whatever you do in word or deed, pretty much sums up everything, do it all for the glory of God. It should bring praise and fame to Jesus. It should reflect good on him. You know, this Jesus, it's not like he was a surprise. The whole Old Testament speaks of this coming Messiah, little baby Jesus. I think of a couple movies that have that phrase in it, but you ever met someone that doesn't really know God, you still kind of respect, a little reverent about baby Jesus? Isn't that interesting? And there's others that could, I bet Mary and Joseph didn't plan on having a baby in a stable. I wouldn't think. In fact, we know that because they went for an inn and the inn was too full. The king of the universe, born in a hay trough, slobbery animal stuff, stinky. Pretty humble, huh? The other one talks about how he would do it if he was the creator being born. Pretty extravagant, pretty funny. It's not how Jesus did it. It's not how God came into the earth. The problem is sin. The solution is Jesus. That's why he came here. And the only thing after that is the choice. You either accept or reject the solution. Same with your sickness. You got some sickness, you get cancer, you get some kind of, I don't know, strep throat, whatever it is. That's the problem. They say the solution is this. Here's the solution. Do you want to accept it or reject it? That's how it is for life. The most important decision you ever make in your life is accept or reject God. Yes to Jesus and no to Jesus. It's real simple. More people are going to say no than yes. That's the crazy part. And I say that because the verse that says, wide is the road, many follow. And narrow is the road, and few find it. Sounds like there's more going to hell than going to heaven. Well, the parable says, go out to this and out to the farther parts and invite them to the banquet. The older I get, the closer I see it coming. But also the more I don't care about what people say when I tell them about Jesus. Maybe it's the growth, maybe it's just the age, I don't know, but it's just like, so what? I'm so worried about what people said and thought my whole life, so what? They say no, that's on them. As a PK, I thought everyone heard the gospel. Everyone knew the gospel, right? You would be surprised. I'm surprised at how many people haven't heard the gospel. If they've heard it, they heard such a tainted view of it that it's like, man, I need to hear that again. But if I tell someone the gospel and they listen and they choose to say no, there's nothing more I can do but pray. I think back to people in my family that have passed away, who made it, who didn't. You know, for sure, you know, Dad's up there. There's a couple you're like, I don't know. Hope so, but man. They say that every person eventually gets to the point, where did I come from? How did I get here? What's my purpose in life? What am I doing down here? And when I die, where do I go? Pretty important questions. Because when you die, you either go to heaven or hell. And once you die, it's too late. You've already made your choice before that. I used to not like, I say this in my younger years, the Old Testament just seemed boring. It had some cool stories in it, but it just wasn't, wasn't that cool. But as I started studying the Bible in latter years, it's like so much stuff in there, so much. Oh. And a lot of it is all these prophecies that say, hey, one day a man is coming. This Messiah is coming. He's going to look like this. He's going to do this. He's going to teach like this. He's going to do these miracles, all this stuff. And they just constantly. And when Jesus shows up, that's what he does. But even then, in their face, knowing the Old Testament, they rejected it. You think, man, if I was there, I wouldn't. But man, we have it even better now. We have this whole word here. We have the history. We have all the stuff. But is it just a fairy tale? Well, I know it's not because I've seen what it does in people's life. I watched my parents' life change. I was there when they weren't saved. And then they got saved. And I watched them change and grow. A whole different ballgame. Two whole different people. New creations. But this birth is a miracle. It's a miracle of love to us. It's another way of God expressing love to us by offering